good afternoon, one and all, respected faculty members and my dear participant. On behalf of Gujarat Technology Graduate School of Engineering Technology, I welcome you all in the 12th webinar, Expert Talk on Understanding of Antenna for 5G Technology using the CST Studio Suite. Graduate School of Engineering Technology started in 2017. It is AICTE approved institute established and managed by GTU. Currently, two PG courses, ME in Cybersecurity and ME in Mobile Communication Network Technology, are running at the institute. We are also going to start 1 year PG diploma course in the data science from this year. The vision of this institute is to provide excellent technical knowledge and preparing competent manpower in respective specialization. With this aim, we are organizing this webinar series. I found my immense pleasure to introduce our today's session expert, Mr. Karthik Goyal sir, application engineer from Jyoti Electronics, Ahmedabad, India. Mr. Karthik Goyal sir is an experienced technical expert of the RF and microwave domain with the specialization of the microwave engineering during engineering MTech PG post. He was associated with the SRMS Trust Institute Uttar Pradesh as an assistant professor for the 4 year experience. Currently, he is working as an application engineer in CST Studio Suite at Jyoti Electronics Ahmedabad, where he was used the technical discussion queries from the different labs under the Ministry of Defence Government of India, from all the research staff of the Academic Institute of the India. He also delivered on-site and off-site training on the CST Studio Suite. All the IIT, NIT, all other institute research lab of the high Nestle reputed institute. He was specialized hands-on CST microwave Bazaar Studio on the application covering RF and optical antenna, photonic, microwave, photonic and communication system. So let's welcome our today's vibrant personality experts, Mr. Karthik Goyal sir. I would like to request to all the participants to mute your mic. Okay, if you have any question or any queries, okay. So after the completion of the session or in the chat box, you can write your queries to discuss with the expert sir. Thank you once again to one and all. Karthik sir, now over to
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you so much, Malcolm sir, for introducing me with the audience. And I'm thankful to Professor Makwana, Professor Hakani sir from GTU itself for allowing me over here to be among the this sort of audience to discuss something over 5G advancement and 5G antenna concepts. And yes, when I talk about 5G, it gives me immense pleasure because this is something which is quite vibrant in technological era right now. Every of the either if I talk about the defense laboratories, if I talk about the premier institutions, either IITs and ITs, many of the researchers are working into this particular area to develop some sort of antennas, to develop some sort of system that can support 5G. Definitely, yes. So today talk will be more focused on the antenna concepts for 5G MIMO systems, definitely. And I would, because there is very less time that has been provided to me to cover that particular area, and it's not possible to cover everything, but definitely I would be covering a few of the very advanced designs in terms of MIMO concepts. Right, everyone is aware of the MIMO concept, which is multiple input, multiple output. So yes, I will be giving you the concept of multiple input, multiple output. Thereafter, I will definitely be talking about the few advancements in the technology 5G, which are beam steering and beam forming through very few of my designs. And then I would be talking over some practical aspects, because when you go for that is very smaller size of the antenna in fabrication, then it's not possible to implement or to fabricate that number of excitational ports. So what we can do in order to reduce the excitational ports while having maximum number of antenna over our structure. So these would be the few concepts that would be covered by me during this particular session. So before going into much more technicalities, let me talk over about our background, that what we people at Jyoti Electronics Ahmedabad do, where we are located. As everyone knows in GTU as well, that we have the presence in PAN, right? So, Malcolm sir, can you please acknowledge whether my screen is visible?
Hello, sir.
My
Visible?
screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Visible.
great. So let me tell you guys that we at Jyoti Electronics are working into the fields of electronics and RF and microwaves since last, I guess, 35 years, and we are into this RF and microwave domain, covering everything, either it is softwares or hardwares. Since 2000, we are about to complete our silver jubilee into the fields of RF and microwaves, right? And when I talk about the software terminologies, then yes, definitely we would be covering every sort of software range, whether it is for circuit simulations, whether it is for system simulations, EM simulations, antenna designing, or antenna synthesizing tools as well we have. And in terms of hardwares, we have all sort of connectors, adapters, power supplies, any sort of test and measurement instruments, cables, cable assemblies, any sort of antennas we people can deliver to you guys, right? So these are the wide range of softwares and hardwares we have. And if I get very specific in terms of softwares, then these are the prime products we have. CSG Studio Suite is one of the major flagship product of ours, right? CSG Studio Suite itself has 5 different bundles in it. Each one is specially designed for specific applications. I would be talking over that as well. Thereafter, we have Opera, a low frequency EM simulator, right? Thereafter, we have Spark 3D, very specialized tool in particle analysis, where multifaction and corona gas discharge analysis is done using this particular software, Spark 3D. Thereafter, we have Fast 3D, very specialized tool again in cavity-based structures. We may have the requirement of resonators, we may have the requirements of filters that are cavity-based. So yes, Fast 3D is the tool that can give you that sort of flexibility to work on. Thereafter, we have Antenna Magus. This is the tool which is used for antenna synthesizing purposes, right? When I say antenna synthesis, then yes, definitely you need not to worry about the dimensions. You need not to worry about the shape of the antenna structures. Rather, you need to worry about the resonating frequency only. At what particular resonating frequency you want an antenna structure. You input that resonating frequency, you input your desired performance parameters, and geometry from the inbuilt database will be provided to you directly by the platform in Antenna Magus. So that is the concept of antenna synthesizing, right? Thereafter, we have, last but not the least, tool Abacus, that is for mechanical engineers who can work for the analysis of multiple deformations, the impacts of multiple forces from different sides on a structure. You can analyze stress or strain as well on this particular FEA tool, Abacus. A few of our prime users are located at SAC ISRO, DRDO Labs, DEL, HAL, RRCAT, and all IITs and ITs and all CFTIs are using CSG on a massive scale. So now very quickly we'll be moving to CSG. I will be covering few of the basics about CSG because the time doesn't allow me to go into that much of detail, because I need to talk over the 5G as well. So very quickly I will be talking over what studios we have, what solvers we have in antenna domain, and thereafter very quickly I will be switching to the designs. So CSG is owned by Dassault Systems under the brand tag name of Simulia. You can find any sort of detail about CSG on www.3ds.com. So CSG is the tool that covers the wide range of applications, either it is in automotive, aerospace, communications, defense, electronics, energy, harvesting, and healthcare, in order to perform any sort of criteria, whether it is some antennas, whether it is some filters, these are the passive components like power dividers, Wilkinson dividers, or couplers, right? or you can put any housing. When I say housing, there would be a box sort of structure where multiple cameras, multiple cables, multiple PCBs would be kept within the box, and you can put that particular housing or EMI/MC analysis, electromagnetic compatibility and interference sort of analysis. And yes, you can also put a PCB in the test for signal integrity and power integrity analysis. So wide range of applications can be covered by a CST Studio Suite itself. As I said, in CST Studio Suite, there are 5 different studios specifically designed for different applications. One of the major studio is CST Microwave Studio, where all sort of antennas, filters, power dividers, and if I talk about in application terms, then yes, if you are looking for biomedical engineering, then yes, CST Microwave Studio would be there. If you are looking for some aerospace or RCS calculations, then definitely yes, CST Microwave Studio again would be there. If you are looking for some metamaterial structures, if you are looking for some optical applications, then CST Microwave Studio would be doing the job. Thereafter, we have CST Cable Studio, PCB Studio, and CST Microstrips, which are specifically designed to create or to model any sort of cables or their assemblies. You can develop any sort of twisted pair cables. You can develop any sort of cable bundles over the Cable Studio and can put it in the test for EMI/MC analysis. Similarly, with PCB Studio, you can import any of the layouts of the PCB and can perform basic rule checking of the PCB where some voltage rules violations or current violation is there, or the PCB is working perfectly, or you can also put your PCB in a test for signal integrity and power integrity analysis. Thereafter, we have CST Particle Studio, very specialized tool in terms of the interaction, in terms of the analysis of the interaction actually of the EM fields with the freely moving charges. Like you might have studied klystrons, you might have studied slow wave structures, you might have studied magnetrons. So all sort of active devices can be modeled, can be analyzed over here in CST Particle Studio. One of the very basic example of this CST Particle Studio application is electron gun. So that sort of things can be designed over here in CST Particle Studio. Thereafter, we have CST and Physics Studio. And since physics is involved, so yes, definitely we will have an idea that there should be some heat sources, there should be some temperature sources, and there should be some mechanical effects that can be analyzed. So yes, multiple thermal and mechanical impacts or effects can be analyzed over the EM fields using CST and Physics Studio. And last but not the least, we have CST EM Studio. This is specially designed, especially created for low frequency applications. Like if you are having a transformer and you want to have the analysis of the transformer in terms of magnetic fields and the flux, then you can go with CST EM Studio. You can create inductors, connectors, actuators, magnets over CST EM Studio. Apart from these 5 studios, we have one very intelligent studio named as CST Design Studio that provides you the flexibility to bridge over the available 5 studios. Like if you are working on CST Microwave Studio and you need to put that particular design that has been designed over CST Microwave Studio to be put in the test for low frequency application, or you need to have some magnetostatic analysis of that particular structure, then you need to opt CST Design Studio to bridge over the gap. So this is the studio that provides you the flexibility to bridge over in between the studios, right? So few of the examples are on the screen, a few guys which are designed using CST Microwave Studio. Any sort of metamaterial or frequency selective surface structures can be designed. Any sort of antennas or their arrays can be designed, either planar or non-planar. Any sort of filters, either planar or cavity-based structures can be designed over here in CST Microwave Studio. Thereafter, few of the examples in terms of CST EM Studio are on the screens. Now, very few examples in terms of Particle Studio, induction of EM fields is studied with the freely moving charges. Thereafter, yes, CST EM Physics Studio, where some induction cookers, combiners, circuit breakers can be designed and can be analyzed. And you can also study multiple components by applying some heat sources in order to have the temperature effects on the EM fields. Like you perform in biomedical engineering, while you go for the MRI scanning or such sort of applications in biomedical engineering as well. Thereafter, a few of the examples that have been created using CST Designer Studio. Some bridge over applications are here on the example list. Thereafter, CST PCB Studio, which is designed for signal integrity and power integrity, and also for the EMI/MC analysis on the printed circuit boards. Last but not the least, few of the examples in terms of CST Cable Studio, where some cables, their assemblies, some cable bundles, twisted pair cables, right? All sort of that sort of designs or cables can be modeled and can be put under test for further analysis. Once we have the idea about the multiple studios we have, now let's talk about, since our talk is very much restricted to the antennas, and the title is itself like understanding of antennas for 5G technology, right? So these are the few solvers especially designed using multiple numerical techniques for antenna sort of applications, right? The classification is generally done in the broad way, like in general purpose solvers and special purpose solvers. In general purpose solvers, we have the further classification as transient solver and frequency domain solver, and both can be replaceable with one another. You can use transient solver, you can use frequency domain solver. The result will be somehow very similar to one another, but there are few differences in between the numerical techniques. There are few differences in between the meshing or the discretization methods. There are few differences in terms of the advanced application areas, right? If I talk about in MIMO concepts only, then what is there in the MIMO structure, since the name itself says multiple inputs and multiple outputs. So once you are working on the transmitting end, there would be multiple excitational ports. So it is highly recommended in terms of the differences among transmit and frequency domain solver that while you are simulating a single input, means there is only a single excitation in the structure, then you need to use frequency domain solver. While when you are working on multiple excitations, multiple input ports, then you should use your transient solver. Why is it so? Because in frequency domain solver, the simulation will be done in a simultaneous way. That means if you have n number of input excitations and all are simulated using frequency domain solver, then there would be the complexities in the structure, because all the input excitations, all the scattering parameters of individual excitations would be calculated simultaneously. And if I ask you whether you are able to calculate multiple scattering coefficients, multiple scattering parameters simultaneously for different sources, then definitely not. It would be much more complex. So similarly with the simulator as well, there would be much more complexities. So much more time consumption in the simulation runtime would be there. While in transient solver, or n number of ports would be solved in a sequential order. If you give me 100 number of calculations, then I'll go in a sequential way. I'll solve problem number 1, then problem number 2, then problem number 3, and up to n. That means lesser complexities would be handled by me. And since the lesser complexities are handled by me, then yes, definitely I would be providing the results in a much appropriate time and with much higher accuracies. So this is the general difference between transient solver and frequency domain solver, while other are the special purpose solvers specially designed for different sort of applications in terms of antennas itself. Like if you are working for metamaterial structures, if you are working for closed structures, then use eigenmode solver, which is dependent over the tetrahedral meshing. So eigenmode solver is defined for such applications. If you are working on electrically large or electrically large structures which are highly dominated by metals, where metallic layers are large in number, then you are recommended to use integral equation solvers where surface meshing is done, which is dependent on MOM numerical technique, right? Method of moments is used over here in integral equation solver. The meshing concept will be of surface meshing. And if you are having very large structures electrically, very large structures means you all might be knowing that when you are on a call using a mobile phone, then your whole body would be working as an antenna. That means when your mobile is switched off or while you are not on a call using a mobile phone, then your mobile phone is having the electrical structure equivalent to its whole physical length. But when you are on a call using a mobile phone without the headphones or without the headsets, then definitely yes, your whole body would be working as electrical size of the structure. Similarly, when you place an antenna over any of the aircrafts, over any of the ships, then electrical size of the antenna structure is very, very, very large. So in such cases, asymptotic solver is recommended to use, which is specifically designed for RCS calculations and is dependent over shooting and bouncing ray technique, where some geometric physics, where some physical optic concepts like scattering, reflection, diffractions are applied. So asymptotic solver is especially designed for such applications. Last but not the least, multi-layer solver, where you have multiple layers of the substrates in a structure. There could be a case with aperture coupled feed, where multiple layers of two different layers of the substrates, or this could be a case where the strip line topology of the distributed components could be used. So multi-layer solver is for such applications. Also, when you are looking for characteristic mode analysis of any structure, you all might be aware of the characteristic mode analysis, CMA, right? So CMA gives you the output without calculating the scattering parameters, without applying the input excitations. You can have the idea of the modal concepts, means in your particular antenna structure, what number of modes, what would be the resonating frequencies. You can have that sort of idea using characteristic mode analysis. So this multi-layer solver is specially designed for that particular application as well, right? So now I have given you the names and specific features of 6 different solvers. So how do you decide which solver is to be used? So choosing a solver is one of the very intelligent tasks. So few of the parameters we have that can give you an idea of choosing a solver, right? One of the parameters is electrical size. Like I talked about electrical size in terms of the integral equation solver, in terms of asymptotic solver. So depending on the electrical size, you can choose a solver. I have given you the material models. Like I have talked about whether you would be having multiple layers or single layers. So depending on the material models, you can use or you can choose a solver. I haven't talked about over this resonating behavior. So let me talk over this. And this is particular concept that is especially used in general purpose solvers while differentiating between transient solver and the frequency domain solver. And in general purpose solvers, while we talk about transient solver, that is specially designed for the wideband analysis. Means, like if an quote an example, then horn antenna possesses the broadband characteristics. That means if I put an horn antenna to be simulated under the frequency range of X band, which is 8 gigahertz to 12 gigahertz, then yes, it would be possessing the behavior, or it would be possessing the performance in the entire band of frequency, that is 8 to 12 gigahertz. So the broadband characteristics is possessed by horn antenna, and for broadband analysis, for wideband analysis, and for multi-band analysis, transient solver is recommended, while for the narrowband analysis, while for the single resonating peak sort of analysis, frequency domain solver is recommended, right? Thereafter, I have talked about type of the meshing and the boundary conditions and the acceleration methods in order to fasten your simulations. We have few software-based acceleration tokens. We have few hardware-based acceleration methods. So depending over such requirements, you can choose your solvers very intelligently. This is very general classification between the transient and the frequency domain solver. I'll not go in much detail because I have talked a lot over. These are the very basic pictorial diagrams of this the different machines that has been utilized by different solvers. Like transient solver is utilizing finite integration technique, FIT numerical technique, and is utilizing hexahedral meshing. While your frequency domain solver and eigenmode solver are dependent over finite element method, numerical technique, and tetrahedral meshing is being utilized by these solvers. Thereafter, we have surface meshing, which is being utilized by your integral equation solver, right? So I have already talked over this. So this is, I guess, quite enough for having the introduction about CST. And now let me directly talk over the few designs. So you all might be aware of designing antennas. You all might be aware of the concept of antennas. So directly I will be switching to one of the very important designs, which is implemented for Wi-Fi communications. For Wi-Fi routers, in the router, such sort of antenna arrays can be utilized. And if I show you the design, I'll directly show you the design through CSG interface. I'll not be going into the demonstration through presentation mode only. I'll be talking because I am left with only 35 minutes. So I'll be covering a few of the designs very quickly. Yes, so this is one of the very important intelligent design in terms of Wi-Fi communications or LTE communications, where 2x2 C-shaped monopole antennas have been created. And if you notice, then all the four antenna elements, antenna element number 1, this is antenna element number 1, this is antenna element number 2, this is antenna element number 3, and this is antenna element number 4. All the four antenna elements are very identical in nature. If you notice very closely, if you notice very closely, all the antenna elements are very identical to one another. Also, the input excitations of all the antennas, these are the input excitations. So the input excitations of all the four antennas are very identical to one another again. So for Wi-Fi communications, that is for 4G, that is for LTE communications, the prime requirement is your antenna elements should be very identical to one another. Also, the input excitations should also be very identical to one another in reference to the amplitude levels, in reference to the input phase shift among the antenna elements. So these should be very identical to one another, and this is the reason that this sort of antenna structure is having this sort of radiation pattern. Very omnidirectional radiation pattern is here, right? And this is something, the radiation pattern of Wi-Fi router, which is of the shape of donut, right? So this is one of the beautiful designs for Wi-Fi communications. Also, you can, while you talk about the antenna arrays, then there are two concepts. If I show you through presentation, there are two concepts. One is the mutual coupling among the antenna elements, and second, the spacing of the antenna structure. Mutual coupling and the spacing among the antenna structures. So the size of the antenna structure of the antenna array, how it would be compact by minimizing the spacing, and definitely when you would be in the close proximities with one another, then yes, the interferences would be there. So we need to minimize those interferences as well. That means there should be some trade-off to be set between the spacing of the elements and the mutual coupling among the elements. When I talk about mutual coupling, then yes, as Modi ji says, do gaj ki duri. So yes, that particular duri has to be maintained in the structures in order to minimize your mutual coupling. That means do gaj ki duri hai zaruri in order to minimize the chances of getting COVID positive, right? So that sort of things can be implemented easily. So if I talk about in terms of the coupling, theoretically it is said that among the two antenna pairs, the mutual coupling should be below minus 12 dB at the resonating frequencies. And if I show you the mutual coupling among the elements, then if I talk about the antenna element number 1 and 2, if I talk about the antenna element number 1 and 2, then S21 should be below minus 12 dB. And if I show you the S21, then it is well below minus 12. Sorry, it is well below minus 12 for almost the entire range of the frequency. So the yes, mutual coupling has been maintained. Now, if I talk about between antenna element number 2 and 3, that means S32 should be maintained. This is S32. It is again maintained. And if I talk about antenna element number between 3 and 4, that means S43 should be maintained. And this is your S43. It is again maintained. Now, there is another concept that if I talk about these two pairs of the antenna structures, These are element number 1 and 2, and these are element number 3 and 4. Now you notice that the orientation of these two antenna elements are very identical to one another, or these antenna element pairs, I should say. The orientation of these two pairs are very identical to one another. That means the mutual coupling among the two antenna element pairs should be very same. That means the mutual coupling between antenna element number 1 and 2 and the mutual coupling between antenna element number 3 and 4 should be very identical to one another. And if I show you that concept, that this is the mutual coupling between element number 1 and 2, and this is the mutual coupling between antenna element number 3 and 4, and both are very identical to one another. Also, I mentioned a statement that all the antenna elements in an array for 4G or for LTE for Wi-Fi communication should be very identical to one another. Also, their input excitations should also be very identical to one another, right? So that means the input or the reflection coefficient, the reflections from the load should be very identical to one another. That means all the antenna elements should behave in a very appropriately identical manner. So if I show you, then this is the reflection coefficient or the return loss of antenna element number 1. This is the return loss of antenna element number 2. This is the return loss of antenna element number 3, and this is the return loss of antenna element number 4. And both are, and all four are selected all together. And if you notice, all four are very identical to one another. That means whatever the C-shaped monopole antenna structures I have created in order to arrange a 2x2 array, all the antenna elements are very identical in nature, right? So if I move further, if I show you the E-field distribution over all the four antenna structures, then you would notice that all the antenna structures, all the four antenna elements are giving you the same E-field distribution. You notice now, if I animate it, then you notice all the antenna elements, all the four antenna elements are having the same E-field distribution. So this has to be there while you are working on the antenna array for 4G or for Wi-Fi or for LTE communication. But yes, the current technological era is of the 5G, and yes, China is already working, and IIT Delhi CARE, IIT Delhi, there is a CARE unit, right? And they people are working on 6G. They have set up the 6G lab. Yes, we need to fasten ourselves. We need to run fast in order to compete with the very advanced laboratories. So let's talk over very quickly. Let's talk over the 5G designs. And if I give you the concept of 5G very quickly, then this is one of the very intelligent PPT slide that can give you the idea of 5G. Currently, what is there? At every base station, there are few number of antennas, and the bandwidth of all the few antennas is being distributed among the multiple subscribers we have. If few of the students are attending this particular session, then yes, you might be relating with this, that you yourself would be using two numbers, or you yourself would be using two mobile phones, and on both the mobile phones, on both the numbers, your 4G networks would be activated. Maybe, I'm not sure, but yes, it could be the case. That means a single user is using two mobile phones. On both the mobile phones, higher data rates are already activated. So bandwidth distribution should be maintained, and this is what that has been done over in 5G. That is the concept of massive MIMO, multiple input, multiple output, but with the massive technology. That means if you see this particular base station, there are 64 number of transmitters. These are the transmitters, and there are 64 number of the receivers. This is a very smaller case of a study. And if you notice, every individual antenna is guiding its energy. It's giving all its utilizing bandwidth to a single user, to a single mobile phone. Every individual antenna is connected. That means whatever the bandwidth a single unit element is having of the in order of their performances, all the combined total bandwidth is given to a single user. So obviously data rates would be higher, bandwidth would be higher, low latency rates would be there. My uplink and downlink, or my downloading and uploading, would be very faster, because all the performance, all the bandwidth of a single antenna I am using. So this has to be done. Now consider the very last column. This is the last column for me. And if I notice these two antenna elements, if both the antenna elements are radiating their energy, radiating their performance or bandwidth in a single direction, then obviously there would be the loss of the energy, because I am already using the energy of one antenna. What will I do with the energy of the second antenna? It is of no use for me. That means I need to tilt, I need to steer the energy, the radiation of antenna element 2 that can be utilized by any other user. So this is the concept of beam steering. Then for that, which is like that, for every individual antenna structure, for every individual antenna element, I need to steer its performance, I need to steer its beam width, its radiation properties in different directions, so that every individual subscriber can utilize the performance of every individual antenna element. And this is, I'll try to show you through this design. If Malcolm sir can acknowledge whether this beam steering animation is visible properly.
Yes, sir, it's visible. It's visible properly. Yes, sir.
Great. So this is the concept of beam steering, that for in every individual direction, an individual antenna should radiate. If antenna element number 1 is radiating in X direction, then antenna element number 2 should radiate in X minus 3 degrees direction. Then antenna element number 3 should radiate in X minus 6 degrees direction. Antenna element number 4 should radiate in X minus 9 degrees of direction. Likewise, that means whole 360 space would be covered. And yes, definitely, whatever the user is there, it can utilize the performance of the individual antennas. So this is the concept of 5G communications actually. And this is what, through which we can say, yes, there would be much higher data rates, there would be much more lesser latencies, there would be much more higher bandwidths. This is the concept. And this is the particular concept of beam forming, which is like, if I show you this particular design again, these 4 antenna elements were there. All antenna elements were radiating in different directions. If I show you, just give me a minute. This was the radiation pattern of antenna element number 1. This was the radiation pattern of antenna element number 2. This was the radiation pattern of antenna element number 3. And this was the radiation pattern of antenna element number 4. All the antenna elements were radiating in different directions. But when you combine the impact of 4 radiations, when you combine the performance of 4 antenna elements, then the complete 360 directional behavior should be there. This was the concept of 4G. Now, what is there in 5G? That a beam should be formed into a particular direction with much higher directivity. So if I show you that particular concept through another design of mine, so if you are noticing that this is a very basic patch antenna, this is a very basic patch antenna, right? And its performance is somehow like this, I guess. Yeah, its performance is somehow like this. That means this is its 3D radiation pattern. If I show you it in polar, and if I notice its direction of main lobe, then its main lobe magnitude is 7.61 dBi, while its main lobe direction is 0 degrees. Now, if I convert this single antenna element into a patch, into an array of antenna structures, let's do this. I activate the far field array properties. If I enter that in X direction, there should be 2 antenna elements. In Y direction, there should be 2 antenna elements. The spacing between the antenna elements in X and Y should be 40-40, and the phase shift, let's say it's 0. Update it, click OK. Then you see the main lobe magnitude is increased by an value of, I guess, 6.29. That means the current main lobe magnitude is 13.8 and the 3D radiation pattern is somehow like this. The four, this is the main lobe. The reddish one is the main lobe with this much of directivity, while rest other are the side lobes or the back lobes. Right? Now, if I switch, if I more increase the number of elements, let's say 4 in X and 4 in Y, update, okay, the energy is much more precise. The beam is much more focused now. The energy is 19.5 dBi in terms of directivity, while there are many more side lobes and the back lobes, but yes, the main lobe energy has been increased from 7.69 dBi. We have come to 19.5 dBi, and if I increase it more, if I make it 8 cross 8, if I show you, the energy is now 25.6 dBi. 25.6 dBi directivity is there due to the presence of 8 cross 8 number of antenna array. Right? And now, if I start tilting this beam, this can be done by the variation of phases. So if you notice, the main lobe direction is still 0 degrees. So now my task is to steer the beam in order to introduce the concept of beam steering. So if I increase, or if I give an input phase shift of 30 in X direction, 30 in Y direction, that means every individual antenna element is having this phase shift of 30 degrees in X and 30 degrees in Y, and the cumulative phase shift in each number of antenna element would be like this. The antenna element number 1 is having a phase shift of 210 degrees, minus 180, minus 150, minus 120, 90. That means a sequential phase shift 30 degrees is there. And if I apply it, then you see your main lobe direction is tilted to 7 degrees now. This is called beam steering. So this beam steering that I have just demonstrated, I can demonstrate one more case. I can make it 60 degrees now. And you see your main lobe direction is 14 degrees this time. So this was the case where the whole performance of 8 cross 8 antenna structure has been tilted. So this particular concept has to be implemented for each and every individual antenna element. Right? Each and every individual antenna element should possess this property. That means antenna element number 1 should radiate in X, antenna element number 2 should radiate in X minus 3, X minus 6, X minus 9, X minus 12, likewise, or whatever the directions. Right? So this could be done by one of the ways. If I show you one design, have some patience, guys. These designs are quite heavy. Yeah, okay, fine. So this is one of the arrangement of 2 cross 2 circular patch antennas, and these patch antennas are fed by coaxial probings. Individual coaxial probing has been used for these patch antennas. Now, this is one of the case that can be possible in practicalities when you go to fabricate such an antenna structure array. When you try to excite 4 number of antenna elements, that can be possible at a single unit, a single lab. But when you increase the antenna elements by 16 cross 16, that means 256 individual antenna elements are there in an array, that then just the people, the faculty members, the researchers are working into this domain may relate that it's not possible to have 256 input excitations at a single laboratory. So this is not possible to test your design antenna array. So I'll come to this. This is one of the practical cases actually. So now if I increase the order of the antenna array, the practicality would not be there. So what could be the replacement of that practicality, I would be discussing in the next 5 minutes. But meanwhile, let me talk over this particular antenna structure, or this particular antenna array of 2 cross 2 circular patch antennas. So in this particular patch antennas, I have given the phase shift of minus 90 degrees in port number 2, the phase shift of 90 degrees in port number 4. And if I give you the performance of this particular antenna array, then you would be glad to know the performance is much better. This is the performance of 2x2 antenna array in 3D. You see, very focused beam is here, very fine, very thinner beam is here with a directivity of 25.8 dBi. In rectangular patches, I was having a directivity of 26.2 dBi, while I was having 8x8. That means 64 number of antenna elements were there. While in circular patch antennas, there are only 2x2 arrangement, and the directivity is this much higher. But this is only due to the fact that I have introduced some phase concepts in individual excitations. I have given some phase concepts in individual excitations. You can play with these phase variations as per your requirement. This is just a case study for you guys. Now, since I'm left with only 10 minutes and I need to go into Q&A as well, so I would be giving you the final design of the day that is more practical in nature. And this design would be, yes, this is the design where 64 number of rectangular patches have been created. 8x8 antenna array is here, and this is the input excitation. If I give you the design exactly, then I guess this is not in this part. So this is the design. Which is more practical in nature actually, where 64 number of antenna elements are here and all are fed with a single unit excitation. The unit excitation has been used for that particular antenna structure of 8x8 antenna elements. So I request you to please have some patience. These designs are quite heavy. So this is 8x8 antenna array, and this is your input excitation. This is your input excitation that has been given to this particular microstrip line, and that the power has been distributed in different number of branches. And if I give you the performance of this particular antenna array, then you notice this reddish part is all over the antenna elements. So the reddish one is of the higher directivities, is having the higher electric field distributions over the antenna structures, and all the antenna elements are having their radiating edges, definitely, because patch antennas radiate through their edges only. So it is such thing which is here on the design on your screens, guys. And this was the return loss performance of this particular antenna structure, which has been designed in terms of 8x8. And if I'm not wrong, whether yes, this is the directivity of this particular antenna structure, which is having 16.7 dBi of directivity with this much of radiation patterns. So this was the design that has been developed using corporate feeding or parallel feeding network. This feeding network has been designed very specifically for this particular structure. For any other structure, some other feeding network could be created as per the constraints, as per the knowledge. So anything could be designed, could be created. If I show you a few more designs directly, then these are the designs which gives you the comparison between your coaxial probing. The lower design is fed through the coaxial probing, and the upper design is fed through the inset feed or through the microstrip line feed. And if you see the comparisons, then both are somehow a bit more or less very identical to one another. And this thing justifies the need that this is through the microstrip line feed. The directivity is 12.5 dBi. This is coaxial probe feed, and the directivity is somehow 12.6 dBi. So bit more or less, both the feeding mechanisms gives you the same, almost nearly the same performances, right? And this is one of the cases where 11 number of rectangular patches have been used through some connecting lines among themselves. And the case is that this antenna array of 11 linear antenna array of 1 cross 11 antenna elements have been fed through this end side feeding. One of the end has been fed, while this is the center feeding of the networks. Right, this is a series network, and the center element has been fed, and you see the performance of these two antenna elements, array of the antenna elements, right? And this is the performance in terms of your radiation properties. This is the radiation property of this end fed linear arrangement of 11 patch antennas, which is having a directivity of 16 dBi, while this particular center feed antenna arrangement of 11 linear antenna elements is having a directivity of 9.4 dBi, and this sort of radiation pattern is here. So if you ask me that which one is better, then yes, definitely this end feed network is much more better in this particular comparison, because of the very precise and very particular beam, and also because it is having a higher directivity. And this is your performance in terms of the return loss, and if you notice, the return loss is much more better in terms of series and feed. This is at the 30.789 gigahertz, and the value is minus 25.777. That means very minimum number of reflections are here on the design. So this is the case. And if I request Markham sir to please come in, because this was all from my side regarding the technicalities. And if I give you the idea of CST licenses, that yes, these are available with us at Jyoti Electronics. And if I go for the classification among the licenses, then yes, definitely we would be having the research licenses, we would be having the teaching licenses where you can learn, and we would be having the student editions as well of the CST licenses where you can have the hands-on on the basic designs. So in research license, we have multiple bundles. We have 3 packages where the single user license is there. The next bundle is of 5 licenses. That means 5 number of simulations can be run at the same time on a same machine or on the 5 different machines as well. And last but not the least, we have 25 license pack, where 25 front ends would be available, 25 number of simulations, modelings can be done at the same time on the same machine or on the multiple machines as well. And if I talk about the bundle, then definitely yes, in academic research license, whatever the softwares I have talked about, either it is CST Studio Suite complete bundle, either it is Opera, either it is Fest 3D, Spark 3D, and DNMagus, all would be available in the same, all of these 3 bundles. Either you go for single user, either you go for 5 users, and either you go for 25 users. So everything would be there in this bundle. And thereafter we have teaching license, which is somehow limited in terms of matching. In terms of the simulations, it is limited. You cannot simulate very advanced designs using teaching license. Few of the basic designs can be simulated and can be analyzed. While in free student teaching student edition, there is a limitation of meshes in a very massive scale. Only 30,000 mesh cells are allowed to work on. So very basic unit elements can be used, can be modeled, and can be analyzed. But yes, in terms of modeling, every sort of modeling concept can be learned. In terms of analysis, every sort of structure can be analyzed in terms of their designs using its component library. And yes, any of the free evaluation licenses, if you are looking for, then you people can contact us. You can write me a mail on my mail ID, that is karthik@jyotimicrosystems.com, or you can contact me on the mentioned number, which is available on your screens. And for any commercial sort of things, you can contact my technical director, Mr. Parth Agrawal, on its mail ID, info@jyoti.net.in or info@jyotielectronics.com, or you people can call him on the mentioned numbers as well. So I guess this was all from my side for the day. And if I request Dr. Markham sir, please come in.
Yes, Karthik sir, thank you very much. I would like to thank Karthik sir on behalf of the Graduate School of Engineering and Technology, Gujarat Technical University, for giving us a very valuable time and providing such a detail and understand the demonstration coverage of the CST suits and the antenna about the 5G technology. And I think some questions arise from the audience in the chat. I think Ankita, have you any questions till now, Ankita? So if you feel free to ask the question. Feel free. Ankita Jadhav, I think you have typed some question in chat for dielectric resonant, which solver is better? Yes.
Okay. So see, depending over again, there is the same case because that DR antennas can also be converted into MIMOs for the advancements, right? DR antennas can also be converted into MIMOs. So therefore, depending over your requirement, depending over the electrical size of your structure, depending over the materials you are using, and if I give you whether my screen is visible, sir, I guess no. So let me just share my screen again, and I guess it is now visible. If I give you the studio for designing of DR antennas, and there is a direct template available. And if I give you the classification directly through this template, then in antennas, we have the template for dielectric resonators, right? If you enter this dielectric resonator template, then either you use time domain solver, either you use frequency domain solver. It would not harm your structure. But yes, then you convert your DR into MIMO concepts, then yes, definitely you should use time domain solver because it would be having much more electrical size somehow, and there would be much more input excitations into your DR antenna. And so depending over your requirement, you can choose either frequency, or if you are working on a unit cell, then I should suggest you to use frequency domain solver definitely. And where you work for antenna array or DR array, then you can go with the time domain solver.
Yes, Ankita, I think might you get the answer from the sir. So thank you very much, all the audience, all the students, faculties, or entrepreneurs.
So if someone is willing to have an open discussion with me, or someone is willing to have willing to put their open feedbacks, then you're allowed to go for. You just can you can just unmute yourself and can introduce you and just go on.
Sure. If anyone wants to give the feedback, then please unmute your mic and give your feedback to the sir about the today's session.
I guess there is one more query from Juhi Garg ma'am, that how to identify higher order harmonics and multi frequency bands.
Yes.
Then in this particular case, ma'am, you need to go for first you go for the CMA analysis. You may have the higher order harmonics or higher order modes into the structure. You can have the idea, and then you can work for the other result analysis. So I guess you can go for the CMA analysis first. You have this particular sort of analysis.
Yes, Juhi, I think you might get your answer from the sir. So is there any questions or feedback from the students, audience, faculties, and entrepreneur? Okay. So today I'm hereby closing the session from the GTU side. It's all. Yes.
So may I speak some? Good evening, sir. So my name is Juhi Garg, and I'm a research scholar in antenna domain from MNIT, Jaipur. Sir, I found following webinar to be really beneficial for especially those who are new in this field. I mean to say, new research scholars. So I like to thank entire team of Gujarat Technical University for organizing such fantastic webinar, and my heartfelt wishes for excellent speaker, Mr. Karthik Goyal, for sharing their knowledge with us. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Juhi ma'am. Thanks for your appreciating words.
Yes, thank you, Juhi, for your wonderful feedback from you. So we will continue our webinar series every Saturday. We will intimate you about our next webinar lecture to all the audience about it. So thank you all the much. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all. Sir, please convey my heartfelt thanks to Professor Makwana, Professor Haqqani as well, and yes, definitely Deepak sir, Markham sir, and I am thankful to you for being the moderator of the session as well.
Yes,
and thanks to all the attendees and the participants and the entire team of GTU Ahmedabad, and yes, definitely Jyoti Electronics Ahmedabad. Thank you all.
Yes, welcome, sir. Welcome. Okay. So here we are ending the session. Okay. Thank you all.